Hey everyone, welcome back. Now we are at the very end of our project, and you probably have something that looks maybe similar to this, or you have some sort of web page that you've put together. Now, the one thing that I like to talk about is, now if we take a look at the resource that's given to you, use your right and left spacing and just resize, you will notice a couple things. Like, this thing is responsive. Now, how are we going to get that same effect for ours? Let's take a look at what I have so far. So nothing there is responsive. The only thing that is kind of responsive here is the nav. This isn't working the way I want it to. So a couple things. Let's work on these pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put them together, and I'm going to group them into a frame. I'm going to rename them, and I'm just going to call it hero, kind of like a hero image or something like that. Now I'm going to make sure that it is the full width and the full height, but I'm going to leave this to the right. I'm going to leave it fixed in terms of its width. Now let's go into our hero frame. This can also stay as an auto layout frame because we have random shapes all over the place. It's a little different when you have things that are overlapping. You can't really do that with auto layout. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Perfect. Let's work on the text first. So I want the text to be off of this page by a wide margin. And I want it to fill the container. So let's go in here. Let's go into our spacing. And on the far left, I'm going to set something like 120 pixels. That way it pushes everything over. I'm going to go into our text and ensure that it is actually set to fill. So what this is going to do is it's going to fill. This is going to be responsive, and this is going to remain the same. So when I start to move it like this, let's set, there we go, we got fixed content. Sorry, it got set the constraints on that, left and right. So when we start moving this, the hero should respond like that. Now we have some issues here with some spacing. So let's go into our hero container, our frame, and we can set that spacing. So I'm going to take a big chunk, maybe 56. Maybe that's not enough. Let's try that again. How about something like 80 or more? We can even do something like maybe like not 1000, 120. There we go. That seems a bit better. So we have a lot of spacing because we remember that we have this arrow that's hanging out of the frame. Okay, I think that's basically it for the text. And our text is centered. That's because we have the alignment set like this. Let's do some work over here on the images. Now, a couple things. I think it's fine when we're moving like this, but what about when we're doing this? Okay, so the easiest way to do that when we're expanding from top to bottom is to ensure that this frame is going to not only be fixed, but it's actually going to fill that auto layout container. So regular frames can fill auto containers as well. I'm going to leave the horizontal resizing to fixed. Now we're going to have to go inside to this container to play around. So we can start working on, some of the spacing. I'm going to bring this down here like that. And I'm going to make sure that this is set to right and bottom. So that means when I resize it, it's going to come in on the right, but it's also going to, stick to the bottom. So we got to make sure that is set. This one's going to set to fill, and let's go back into that small image. Perfect. The square is fine. We can set that to center because we're not really going to worry too much about how these work too much when they are responsive. Center is fine as long as like they kind of have some movement. Same with this. Perfect. Now this larger image, I'm going to have that come down a bit. Click here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure when we scale from top to bottom, this is going to stretch as well. So we know that is working this way. Let's see how this is starting to shape up. Okay, so one thing I noticed is our constraints aren't working properly. That's because we haven't set the constraint for top and bottom here. So let's do that again. Okay, now we got something going here. Now we can fine tune here. This is set to left, that's fine. This one can be set to bottom, so it maybe follows this sticky. This one too. Bring that here over this guy's face. And we'll set this one to bottom. So let's take a look now. Okay. Some more fine tuning we have here. We have the square. So it is set to bottom, left. Oops. Perfect. And for some reason, that one isn't working properly, but that's okay. We're going to bring it down. I think we can settle with something like center. Let's see how this one works now. But that is essentially what you're going to need to do to create a pretty awesome layout. Sometimes things can get a little finicky, like you're witnessing with how this one's working, but that one isn't. But don't let that deter you. I mean, ultimately, look at what we created with just some shapes, some basic images, some text, UI elements. We created a whole responsive layout pretty quickly. And that's how you create a pretty quick landing page in Figma.